This episode of Disrupt Education, Jack Deiter in the house, entrepreneur in the house, in Big Bill's Sandwich Shop. We're in Galena, Illinois. Fantastic, man. Let's start. So you went to college for 1 year.
1 year, that was all. I thought that when I first started, I couldn't, when you get that gut feeling and you realize you can't, you don't see yourself there in 4 years. Mm-hmm. It was weird, but I immediately felt it within the first week moving in. And sure enough, weirdly it turned out correct, but it's that gut feeling that you never know.
Yeah, right? I mean, so you've described yourself as somebody who can't just sit in a classroom. What do you do here? Like, what have you learned, basically, and how long have you been running this place?
We just crossed our 2 year mark.
2 year mark.
So really
Congrats.
Cool. Never could sit in the classroom. Even in college, when you're actually paying for it too, a little bit more, there was a lot of distractions, and it wasn't really stuff that interests me. Understanding the weather as a gen ed, a lot of that. I don't need to know which way tornadoes go, northwest direction or northeast or whatever it is. I still don't know. So it just wasn't. I had to stay busy all the time.
Right. So here you are in charge of everything, pretty much, right? Like, so basically paying the bills to checking out each nail in this place, building, rents, all that. How did you learn to do that?
By doing it. There wasn't a baptism by fire. It was thrown to the wolves. Mm-hmm. I was put in the when I came in and started doing it, there were a lot of things that I know that I would handle differently, and so you just do it. Mm-hmm. You just do it. There was no you could figure it out, but you had to do it while you were.
How was it like? Because you took a risk, right? Like after that first year of college, you're like, okay, I'm going to come back. You got this place. I'm going to run it. What was that like?
It was wild compared to going. So when you're in college, you wake up at 10 o'clock, or I gave myself all 8 a.m. so I wouldn't waste the day. Weird decision, but you wake up, you go to your classes. I was done always by 11 o'clock, so I had the rest of the afternoon off. And then coming to here, which was a full-time, 7 a.m. to 1 o'clock in the morning. It was a completely different life.
Right.
It was you're a child, and then you're full grown.
You're running the business.
Yeah, you have to. And there are things you have to do, and there are people that depend on it, and you have to do it.
So in high school we had this conversation. Not that into it, right? But let me ask this question though, right? You played a lot of golf on the computer. What would, if you're looking back now, what in high school could be different?
Oh, I think a lot of things could be different. One of the things that I had was the study halls. Those were great. I never really did study or do my homework in them, but I would do things that interest me, whether it be, at the time it was a lot of car parts. So what would I do? How would I fix this problem that I had, or what part would I buy, or how would it fit? So occupying something, giving students a way to explore their own
their interests,
right? Yep.
Because I know you were a big car guy, you still are. You love your truck, but a couple of building things around that, and then even the restaurant business. Did you ever envision yourself running something like this?
No. It came a necessity.
Right.
It came out of necessity.
And then you just jumped in.
Yep.
Right.
You just jumped in. But
tell me, so even in high school or even out of high school, we have the core, right? We have math, science, English, all these things. Yep. How does that come into play here?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think it plays into a little bit more than what is let on. Mm-hmm. So with our coffee machines, everything is down to a science. How many grams you're using, the temperature readings on the roaster, the temperature reading of the water. If it's off by 2 degrees, you're going to get a different shot, or at least when you're pulling espresso, your espresso will change. So there are tons of chemical reactions that happen too when you're doing your coffee and roasting it and brewing it. Not everybody needs to know that, but as the owner, or if you're trying to get into that business, there is a lot of science into it, and a lot of math too.
Right.
History, it's cool to know where it came from, but not.
So I'm just in trouble, like, because food business is extremely difficult. My grandfather was in it a little bit, and he was like, no, food business is tough. It's razor thin budgets, right? Like, you have to move things.
Yep.
A
lot of ways too.
If you could talk to 17-year-old Jack, what would you say to him?
If I could talk to 7-year-old Jack.
17-year-old.
17.
Yeah.
I would tell him seriously to get your act together.
Yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Whether it be, with school or with going out and getting a job, but find what you're interested in and go for that. And you can do other things, but 90% of your time, like, don't watch YouTube, TV.
Yeah.
Or, don't waste a lot of time. Just continue to work and do more of what you're interested in.
Create. Nice.
Exactly, create.
You were in 1 year of entrepreneurship in a college setting. And then you are an entrepreneur, basically. What's the difference other than downtime? Like, right?
Right. There's absolutely no downtime. There are no private jets. There's no fancy cars. You have to. So in business school, they teach you, or even entrepreneurship, it's a lot about how it goes by the book. Like, okay, if you do X, Y happens, and that's not necessarily how it goes. I mean, the first thing they should have started off with was Murphy's Law, which is anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Right.
From there, you can take your, you can schedule out how you want to teach that class or whatever, but Murphy's Law is the first one.
What's the biggest learning, maybe item that you got out of running this business that you could never learn in any school?
It takes time. Everything takes time. Takes time is the biggest thing. I mean, I'm still here 2 years later, and I thought I was going to have a chain, and there was going to be, big bills everywhere, and restaurants and everything like that. A lot of it takes a lot of time and a lot of attention to detail. That's the biggest thing. Time and detail.
Awesome. Patience.
Yes.
Jack Deiter, Big Bills, Galena. You got to get the beefy Roman. Number 11 in Illinois.
Phenomenal.
By the time they see it, it's going to be like number 3.
It might be.
So,
I hope so.
fantastic, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Disrupt Education. Stay tuned for more.